The plane slowly touched down at the NYC airport. Nora Smith walked off the plane, holding her daughter's hand. Cherry Smith looked up, tugging gently on Nora's hand. "Mommy," she asked in her sweet, childish voice, "are we back in the country to find my daddy?" Nora looked down at her daughter's delicate, innocent face. A wave of complicated emotions washed over her before she answered softly, "No, you don't have a father." Cherry sighed like a little adult. "I'm not a 3-year-old anymore. I'm not falling for that. If I don't have a dad, I couldn't have just popped out of a rock, right?" Seeing Nora's silence, she mumbled uncertainly, "If we're not looking for daddy, then are we looking for my brother?" Just then, a scene at the exit caught Cherry's eye. A butler in a crisp suit was standing there, holding a sign with the name Nora Smith written in bold black letters. Standing in front of him was Ian Garcia, his face a mask of impatience. The disgust in his voice was palpable. "When is that fat pig finally getting out here?" An image of Nora involuntarily formed in his mind. "They say you gain 20 pounds with every pregnancy," he thought. She was already bloated as a pig back then. After 5 years, I can't even imagine what she looks like. Just thinking about it makes me sick. The butler behind him heard this and gently advised, "The old master specifically requested that even if the engagement is being broken, we shouldn't make things too ugly." Ian scoffed. He was about to retort when a slender figure approaching caught his eye. He glanced over casually, then froze. The woman walking toward them was tall and slim. Sunlight streamed through the airport's glass walls, highlighting the sharp, exquisite lines of her face. She was so stunningly beautiful he couldn't look away. Ian stared, his throat suddenly dry. He was completely speechless. Cherry looked at him and asked with childlike innocence, "Mister, are you here to pick us up?" Her last words snapped Ian back to reality. He quickly grabbed the sign from the butler and tossed it behind him. "Of course not," he interrupted. "Little girl, I have nothing to do with the person on that sign." Nora hadn't given him a single glance the entire time. A flicker of coldness passed through her almond-shaped eyes. Some people never change. Suddenly, memories from the past came flooding back. When she'd gotten pregnant under mysterious circumstances, people whispered behind her back, "Her belly is already showing, and she's still making justifications about not sleeping with some random guy." The poor Garcia family, getting engaged to someone like her. She was already fat and ugly, and her family isn't even that great. Marrying into the Garcia family was the luckiest thing that could ever happen to her. Now she's pregnant before marriage? They're definitely going to break the engagement. Her fiancé, Ian Garcia, had worn his disgust openly, desperate to use this as an excuse to call things off. "Just looking at her pig face makes me want to puke, and now she's pregnant with some other guy's bastard. Why should I have to clean up her mess? Why won't Grandpa let me break it off?" And her own father had just stood there, nodding and bowing obsequiously. "Don't you worry, Mr. Garcia," he'd promised. "As soon as she gives birth, I'll get rid of the baby immediately. It won't cause you any trouble." Later, she was locked in a small, damp storage room where darkness and loneliness wrapped around her like vines. But every time she felt the gentle kicks of the life inside her, she found the strength to go on, whispering to herself over and over, "It's okay, baby. Mommy will love you." But who could have known? After she'd fought with all her might to deliver fraternal twins, a boy and a girl, her father took advantage of her weakness to snatch her newborn son and abandon him. If her aunt hadn't arrived in time to take her and her daughter abroad, she might not have survived. She had returned this time under the pretense of finalizing the engagement termination that the Garcia family had dragged out for 5 years. Her real reason, however, was to find her lost child. As her thoughts swirled, her phone rang. The word "father" on the screen was a painful sight. Nora answered. Her father's angry roar immediately filled her ear. "Nora, if you want to break the engagement, then get your ass back here and sign the papers. Stop wasting time and getting in the way of your sister and Mr. Garcia." Nora's knuckles turned white as she gripped the phone. "I'm on my way," she said flatly, then hung up. After hanging up, Nora was about to leave when Ian flashed a smile and called out, "Excuse me, miss? Can I ask your name?" He looked like a peacock showing off its feathers. Beside her, Cherry let out 2 soft tisk sounds. "Mister, I feel so sorry for you. You're so young, but your eyes are already going bad." Ian was taken aback by the child's bluntness, pointing to his own nose in disbelief. Before he could recover, Nora took Cherry's hand and started walking away. "Let's get you back to the hotel to rest." Ian took a few steps after them, unwilling to give up. "Miss, wait. Can I get your number?" He was held back firmly by the butler. "Mr. Garcia, we have business to attend to. Please don't forget the old master's instructions." Ian could only watch as her graceful figure disappeared into the distance. He pouted and muttered, "If that fat slob was even half as beautiful as her, what a waste of my time." Hearing this, Cherry whipped her head around, her little brow furrowed. She grumbled in his direction, "What's he talking about? My mommy's not fat at all." After getting Cherry settled, Nora changed into a simple dress and went to the Smith family home. As she approached the front door, the sounds of a lively party hit her. The bustling crowd reminded her that today was her sister Angela's birthday. No wonder they'd specifically summoned her. Angela was her half-sister and had loved taking her things since they were kids. Seeing that no one was paying her any attention, Nora found a quiet sofa in the corner and sat down. But just as she sat, the sharp sound of a slap cut through the noise. Nora looked up to see a group of well-dressed young people surrounding a girl on the floor. The girl in the lead had a haughty look on her face. Another girl behind her held up a bottle of chili water, her tone dripping with malice. "Did you just say that fat pig Nora's features aren't actually that bad? I think there's something wrong with your eyes. Should I help you fix them?" Before she finished speaking, she splashed the chili water at the girl on the ground. A piercing scream tore through the air, sharp enough to make your skin crawl. The bully continued to berate her. "Lily, that ugly pig Nora's face is a mess. She can't even compare to one of Angela's toes. How could you possibly think she looks good?" The burning pain made Lily curl into a ball, crying and begging, "Please, just let me go." Just then, Angela slowly pulled something from her purse. "Don't be in such a hurry. Let's do this the civilized way. How about a bet?" She held up a photograph and waved it in front of Lily. "This is a picture of Nora. If you can prove she'd actually be pretty if she lost weight, I'll eat this photo. If you can't, then you eat it. Fair's fair, right?" It was her birthday. Everyone was congratulating her and cursing that fat pig Nora. Yet this sweet little Lily had the nerve to say Nora's features weren't ugly. The people around them immediately chimed in. "She'd still be an ugly hag even if she lost weight," someone laughed. "But what if the fat pig can't lose weight?" "Exactly! And you, Lily, have no way to prove it. So, are you going to eat it yourself, or should we help you?" After speaking, Angela held the photo in front of Lily's face. Cheers and chants erupted from the crowd. "Eat the photo! Eat the photo!" Angela just wanted to see if Lily would still stand by Nora after all this trouble. However, just as Angela was about to force the photo into Lily's mouth, a slender, pale hand reached out and snatched it away. Nora casually crumpled the photo into a ball. With her other hand, she swiftly grabbed a fistful of Angela's hair. The moment Angela cried out in pain, Nora shoved the paper ball into her open mouth. Her movements were so swift and fluid that no one had time to react. It wasn't until the bitter, foul taste filled her mouth that Angela realized what had happened. She was about to spit it out when a low, indifferent voice said, "Angela, a bet's a bet." Nora's appearance stunned everyone. The same people who had been jeering just moments ago were now frozen in shock. It took a moment for someone to snap out of it. "Hey, who are you? Angela is Mr. Garcia's fiancée. Aren't you afraid of offending the Garcia family?" Nora ignored her. She turned and offered a hand to Lily. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Lily looked up, and when she saw the woman's face, she felt a daze wash over her. There was something familiar about her eyes, but the woman's exquisite features and powerful, intimidating aura made her hesitate. She stared at Nora for a full 30 seconds before tentatively asking, "Nora?" Nora gave a faint, which sent a shockwave through the crowd. They all stared at her, their faces filled with disbelief. Someone muttered, "They're sisters." Looking at them now, Nora is way more stunning. I can't believe that fat pig would look so amazing after losing weight. By now, the smile on Angela's face had frozen, replaced by shock and envy. Impossible. This can't be Nora. How could that fat, frumpy idiot become so beautiful? She must have gotten plastic surgery overseas. How dare she steal my thunder at my own birthday party and humiliate me? I'll make her pay for this. Just then, their father, Henry Smith, walked over with their stepmother. When he saw Nora, he was visibly stunned. A calculating glint quickly flashed in his eyes. "I never thought she'd be this beautiful after losing weight. Her whole demeanor has changed. Maybe we can marry her off to another prominent family and bring more benefits to the Smiths." Seeing him, Angela burst into tears and threw herself into Henry's arms. "Sis, I know you're upset that Ian broke off the engagement, but you can just keep hitting me if it makes you feel better." His daughter's crying brought Henry back to his senses. His face darkened instantly. He turned to Nora and roared, "Ian broke the engagement because you were shameless and got pregnant before marriage. It's your own fault. What does it have to do with your sister?" With that, he raised his hand to slap Nora. Nora was about to dodge when her stepmother stepped forward and stopped him. "So many people are watching. Don't forget why we're here." Henry suppressed his anger and threw out a cold command. "Follow me upstairs." In the second-floor study, the four of them sat facing each other. Nora leaned back on the sofa, her eyelids slightly lowered. Her long lashes cast a shadow on her cheeks, making her look completely aloof. But only those who knew her would realize she was just sleepy from not getting enough rest the night before. Henry didn't care about her attitude. He got straight to the point. "The Garcias have agreed to break the engagement, and your sister is going to marry into their family. Since today is your sister's birthday, you should give her the company your mother left you as a wedding gift. Think of it as a birthday present." Hearing this, Angela eagerly jumped in, her tone dripping with a smug, charitable air. "That's right, sis. You got pregnant out of wedlock and disgraced the Smith family. Not to mention you've made the Garcias a laughingstock for years. Giving me the company as part of my dowry is the least you can do to make up for it." Henry then tossed a file onto the coffee table in front of Nora, demanding she sign the transfer agreement. Nora's eyes blazed with an icy fury. For 5 years, it was the Smith family who had desperately clung to the Garcias, refusing to let go, while she was the one who had insisted on breaking the engagement. And now, somehow, it was all her fault. Not only that, but the house they were living in, the assets under the family name, they all belonged to her biological mother. They had occupied them for years, and now they wanted to take the last piece of her mother's legacy. Their greed was disgusting. At that thought, Nora said 2 simple words: "No way." Angela shot back, "Nora, what do you mean? Are you still hung up on Ian? You don't want to break the engagement?" Nora glanced out the window, thinking that her daughter, Cherry, should be waking up soon. She needed to go back and tuck her in and couldn't be bothered to argue with this pathetic family. "We can break the engagement, but the dowry is not happening," she said, turning to leave. Her father roared, "Nora, you get back here!" But Nora acted as if she hadn't heard him, walking straight toward the door. Angela, furious, chased after her. "Let me tell you something, Nora. Don't think that just because you lost weight and got pretty, Ian will want you back. He wouldn't marry a washed-up woman with a little bastard even if he went blind. Oh, right. Where is that little bastard of yours with the unknown father? Why didn't you bring him for us to see?" In response to her stepsister's taunt, Nora spun around and delivered a sharp backhand slap. "Harry is not a bastard," she said. Her voice was quiet, but carried a chilling force. Her eyes were dark, like a demon that had climbed out of hell. "The next time I hear you talk like that, don't blame me for what happens." With that warning, she turned and left without a second glance. Angela clutched her stinging cheek, completely stunned. No one could believe that the once meek Nora Smith would now dare to strike someone in the Smith family home. Exhausted after dealing with her family, Nora dragged herself back to the hotel. She was about to yawn when she heard a soft rustling sound. She looked up. Under the dim light of the elevator lobby, a small figure in cartoon pajamas was rubbing his eyes, his soft hair sticking up in messy tufts. A warmth spread through her heart. She quickly walked over and knelt, pulling the child into her arms. He still felt warm from his bed. "Cherry, why did you come out to wait for Mommy? Are you craving mousse cake?" she asked, planting a kiss on her daughter's forehead. A familiar scent of milky body wash filled her nose. The small body in her arms suddenly stiffened, and his ears turned a suspicious shade of red. Just then, her phone rang shrilly. She patted the child's soft hair. "It's cold out here. Go wait inside. Mommy will take you for mousse cake after this call." As she turned, she noticed the way the little boy looked at her back. His previously sleepy eyes were now wide open and bright, filled with an unreadable light. Before she could think about it, a gleeful voice came from the other end of the phone. "You're so dead this time." Nora was confused. "What's wrong?" Her friend explained that the head of the country's most powerful family, Justin Hunt, was searching for her personal information everywhere. This time, it seemed he wouldn't stop until he found her. Nora just gave a nonchalant, "Oh," then noticed the little boy hadn't left. She waved at Pete. Under her gaze, the little boy turned and walked back. But he paused at the door, peeking his head out, his eyes still fixed on the elevator. The soft hug and the kiss on his forehead had made the young master of the Hunt family blush. The voice on the phone continued to chatter. When you were abroad, it wasn't his territory, so you could avoid him. But now that you're back, you can't escape. As the most famous surgeon in the world, can't you just treat his grandmother? Meanwhile, in another study, Justin Hunt's fingers tapped lightly on his computer as he listened to a report. Mr. Hunt, we've confirmed that Auntie has returned to the country. According to our informant, we just bought a photo of her at a high price. We'll send it to you as soon as we get it. Just then, a small figure came running in, tugging on his pant leg. I want moose cake! Justin took off his glasses with one hand and glanced at his son, Pete. Pete, what's gotten into you? As they looked at each other, it felt like sparks were flying. In the end, it was Justin who gave in. Fine, go get changed. He picked up his jacket from the sofa, but a glimpse of the slightly ajar living room door made him frown. He turned to a screen on the wall and commanded in a low voice, I want the surveillance footage of this floor. Within 30 minutes. On the other end of the phone, Nora was so sleepy she was tearing up, but she still had to listen to her friend gush. I heard Justin Hunt is incredibly generous and a total dreamboat. Who knows, maybe you two could have an epic romance. Nora just brushed it off, saying she wasn't cut out for that kind of beauty. Gotta go. I promised Cherry I'd take her for moose cake. She had barely finished speaking when she felt an overwhelming presence envelop her. A large, well-defined hand suddenly slammed against the doorframe next to her, casting her in shadow. Nora whipped her head around and found herself looking into a pair of bottomless, dark eyes. The man was dressed in a sharp black suit that highlighted his broad shoulders and narrow waist. He was holding a small child. Miss Smith. The man's voice was colder than a Siberian winter. Please stay away from my son. Nora was completely confused. Pete, blushing, tried to peek at her but was firmly pressed back into his father's chest. Justin looked down at her and added, You're not my type. With that, he turned and walked away, holding a struggling Pete. Nora stared at his retreating back, grinding her teeth. What is wrong with that guy? She muttered under her breath. The birthday party at the Smith villa had long since ended. When Ian Garcia entered the living room, Angela ran to him, clutching her face. Ian, what took you so long? She threw herself into his arms, her voice choked with sobs. Ian's body stiffened slightly as the unfamiliar scent of her perfume filled his nose. He gently pushed her away and, noticing her swollen cheek, asked in a low voice, What happened? Who did this to you? Angela clutched her cheek, her eyes red with unshed tears. My sister. She didn't mean it. Hearing this, Ian's anger flared. That fat slob hit you? Does she not want to break the engagement? Where is she? I'll go find her myself. Angela's heart skipped a beat. For some reason, the image of Nora's stunning, almost aggressive beauty flashed in her mind, and a seed of unease began to sprout. I can't let Ian see Nora now. She quickly grabbed his arm. You don't have to go. My sister is just upset about losing the company. Don't worry, I'll convince her. Ian, whose mind was elsewhere, didn't press the issue. If we don't get that company, my grandfather won't approve our engagement. Just then, his phone rang. It was a private investigator. Mr. Garcia, I haven't been able to identify the woman yet, but I found out which hotel she's staying at. Ian's eyes lit up. Send it to me now. Angela immediately grew wary and quickly tried to prove her loyalty. Ian, trust me. I will find a way to get that company as my dowry for the Garcia family. Ian cleared his throat, hiding his eagerness. Good, I'll be waiting for your good news. After leaving the Smith house, Ian's mind was consumed by the woman he'd seen at the airport. Her unique aura and breathtaking beauty were unlike anything he'd ever encountered. If only I could marry someone like her. The next morning, Nora was woken by a series of frantic phone calls. She answered with her eyes still closed, and Angela's voice came through the receiver. Have you thought about the company? Not really. Nora mumbled, rolling over to a more comfortable position without opening her eyes. Angela immediately switched to a condescending tone. All right, let's meet in the middle. I'll give you $50,000 and you sign the company over to me. That should be enough, right? Your aunt has worked hard all these years. Does she even have $10,000 in savings? $50,000. You've probably never seen that much money in your life. Harmonia Pharmacy had an annual net profit of about $500,000, all of which had been managed by Nora's legal guardian, Henry Smith. While it wasn't a huge amount, it was her mother's company. How could she just hand it over to strangers? Nora couldn't be bothered to respond, letting Angela ramble on. Seeing her silence, Angela changed her tactic. You probably don't know this, but that company is barely breaking even. It's on the verge of bankruptcy. If you give it to me, maybe I can turn it around. Nora's ears were buzzing. It was incredibly annoying. But Angela was relentless. It's a pharmaceutical company. What would an uneducated good-for-nothing like you know about it? I, on the other hand, am a top student at the medical university, always first in my class, and I'm even preparing to apply for a graduate position with Professor Auntie. She paused, her voice full of superiority. Auntie is the best surgeon in the world, capable of performing the most difficult operations. She's a legend in the field, but she's very mysterious. Staunton University had to pull a lot of strings just to get her to teach there. But why am I telling you this? You wouldn't understand anyway. Nora, I'm telling you, take the deal. Don't bite off more than you can chew, or the company will just go bankrupt faster. The constant stream of words was giving Nora a headache. She finally snapped, "You're too loud." Angela exploded. "You think I'm loud? Are you playing dumb? Is it because you don't want to break the engagement? Let me tell you, Ian only loves me, and he's impressed by my talent in medicine." Nora hung up, tossed her phone aside, and tried to go back to sleep, but it was no use. She sat up and dialed a number. "Solo, send me everything you have on Harmonia Pharmacy." The voice on the other end sounded drained. "I'm telling you, Auntie, you can't keep doing this. I owe you my life, but does that make me your personal assistant? I'm the world's #1 hacker, for crying out loud. Don't I have any pride? You're calling me for something this small? Just name a price and we can call it even, okay?" A small smile played on Nora's lips. "How much is your life worth?" There was a moment of silence, followed by a defeated sigh. "All right, you win. Give me 5 minutes." Cherry gripped her phone, her little fingers flying across the screen. "Quadra kill! Quadra kill! Ugh, you guys are so useless!" she yelled, her face a mask of frustration. Nora emerged from her room fully dressed. "Cherry." Cherry's head shot up. Her eyes lit up like tiny suns when she saw her mother. She tossed her phone onto the sofa and ran over to hug Nora's leg, planting several loud kisses on her. Their nanny, Lisa, chuckled. "You're up a little early today, miss." Nora explained she had things to do, then gently reminded Cherry, "Don't spend all day playing games. You'll ruin your eyes." "I know, Mommy. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Lisa," Cherry replied, already running back to the sofa without a second thought for her mother's words. Just then, Nora's phone buzzed several times. It was a message from Solo. "Sent the Harmonia Pharmacy files to your email. Also, some good news. Auntie, you're toast. The head of the Hunt family tracked me down. He's offering millions just to know if you're a man or a woman. Why don't you just give in? He's a total hunk. Want to see a picture?" Nora sent back a sweating emoji, followed by 2 words, "No thanks." But the next second, a photo popped up on her screen, making her eyes go wide. The man in the picture had sharp, chiseled features and a cold, resolute jawline. He radiated an intimidating, stay away vibe. Yet, the mole near the corner of his eye managed to blend allure with iciness, giving him an air of forbidden temptation. "The same arrogant jerk who told me you're not my type yesterday?" Nora frowned, then let out a small scoff as she typed, "Help me pass on a message to him." In the presidential suite next door, Justin Hunt was leaning back on the sofa. His special assistant Lawrence was reporting softly, "Mr. Hunt, we've received a message from Dr. Auntie, relayed by Solo." Justin looked up coldly. "What is it?" Lawrence cleared his throat, adjusted his glasses, and read the message verbatim. "Dr. Auntie asks, Mr. Hunt, you're in such a rush to find me. Do you need brain surgery?" The temperature in the room instantly dropped to freezing. Lawrence instinctively shrank back. After a long moment, Justin forced 2 words through his teeth. "The photo." He had to see what this infuriating woman looked like. Meanwhile, Nora was getting ready to leave. She turned back to remind Cherry, "There's a very difficult person living next door. Try not to go out unless you have to." Cherry's eyes widened with interest. "Mommy, is he a monster?" Thinking of Justin's arrogant demeanor, the usually quiet Nora slowly nodded. "Yes, and this monster is as pretty as a girl with a mole near his eye, but his brain seems a little scrambled." Cherry waved her hand dismissively. "Then I'm definitely staying in." "I don't play with dummies," Nora chuckled. As she closed the door, she thought to herself, "Justin Hunt is still trying to find Auntie. Now that we're living so close, it's best to stay away." Just as she was thinking this, she heard the door behind her open. She spun around and froze. Justin Hunt was standing there, followed by his assistant and bodyguards, apparently on his way out. How long was he standing there? Did he hear everything? She gave an awkward cough and said in a breezy tone, "Mr. Hunt, I was just joking with my daughter. I didn't mean anything by it, of course." Lawrence's mouth twitched. Could her tone be any more insincere? What kind of monster has a mole by its eye? That monster wouldn't happen to be named Hunt, would it? At that moment, the elevator doors opened. Nora quickly slipped past the man. Justin's face was unreadable, but he gave her a deep look before stepping into the elevator. Though he hadn't said a word, that single glance from him had felt like a dagger. He really is trouble, she thought. I need to get away from him fast. Inside the elevator, Justin noticed for the first time how incredibly fair the woman's skin was. She looked sweet, but that sharp, backhanded way of insulting people, why did it feel so familiar? Downstairs at the first hotel, Ian Garcia sat on a sofa, his eyes glued to the elevators. The Hunt family's hotel was notoriously strict, and the front desk had refused to sell him guest information. His only option was to wait here since early morning. His patience paid off. The elevator doors opened and Nora walked out quickly, clearly eager to get away from Justin. Seeing her graceful figure approach, Ian quickly stood up and tried to look suave as he blocked her path. Well, hello there. Fancy meeting you again? Nora looked exasperated. The engagement was off. Why did this guy keep showing up in front of her? Ian, completely oblivious to her annoyance, smiled even more eagerly. It must be fate. You have to tell me your name this time. Nora wanted to ignore him, but then she remembered he was in the delivery room when she gave birth. Maybe she could get some information about her other baby from him. So she told him her name was Angela, using her mother's name. Ian's eyes lit up. Well, Angela, do you have a moment? Since fate brought us together, why don't we grab a coffee at the cafe next door? Nora gave a non-committal nod. As Ian eagerly led the way, he suddenly asked, Where's your little sister? Nora looked at him confused. What sister? The little girl you were with yesterday. You look like you're barely 20. You can't possibly have a daughter that old, right? Nora couldn't be bothered to explain and just brushed it off. But from a distance, Justin Hunt's gaze turned ice cold. His assistant, Lawrence, was fanning the flames. Mr. Hunt, this woman is unbelievable. It's bad enough she's trying to use your son to get to you, but now she's playing the field. And she lied to this guy, calling her own daughter her sister. She didn't even put that much effort into lying to you. A nearby bodyguard looked confused. Is that something to compare? Justin's expression darkened, and the entire lobby seemed to drop a few degrees. Find out everything you can about her, he ordered before turning to leave. Inside the cafe, Nora skillfully steered the conversation toward Ian's much-talked-about engagement. Eager to praise himself by putting down his ex-fiancée, Ian launched into a tirade. Angela, I'm not a jerk, really. You have no idea how ugly that fat pig was. Her eyes were just slits in her fleshy face, and the ground practically shook when she walked. And she had the nerve to claim she was only fat because she was on hormones, as if she'd be some kind of supermodel if she lost weight. Plus, she was crazy. She dropped out of school in the 3rd grade and just stayed cooped up in her room all day. You could hit her or yell at her and she wouldn't even cry, let alone fight back. I mean, forcing me to marry a fat, stupid girl with no education who can barely write her own name? I'm the victim here. Nora rested her chin on her hand, feeling drowsy as she listened. She had learned early on that crying was useless in a family that played favorites. And she never fought back because she always remembered her mother's last words, telling her to act ordinary and hide her intelligence until she was an adult. It was the only way to stay safe. I'm so sick of the Smith family and their whole act, Ian continued. If it weren't for that company, I wouldn't be pretending to put up with Angela Smith right now. Nora wasn't interested. She cut him off. I heard your fiancé gave birth to a child 5 years ago that was abandoned. I'm just curious, where was the baby left? Ian quickly waved his hands. Angela, that's just a rumor. The fat pig took the kid abroad with her. The story the Smith family had told the public was that Nora had only given birth to a girl. After all, abandoning a newborn was the kind of thing that would ruin your reputation. Nora stood up abruptly, pretending to be a spoiled rich girl whose privacy had been invaded. I was just curious. If you don't want to talk about it, fine. It worked. Ian panicked, reaching out to grab her. Angela, that's not what I meant. Please don't be mad. Nora smoothly dodged his hand. So, are you going to tell me or not? Henry Smith handled everything back then. I really don't know. Seeing that he was clueless, Nora's last glimmer of hope faded. She felt like she'd wasted precious sleeping time. She turned to leave. Ian chased after her. Angela, I'm telling the truth. Are you leaving? Can I at least get your number? No, Nora said, walking away without another word. In the presidential suite, who would have known that the sweet, well-behaved Cherry Smith was a fiery little demon when she played video games? Her Majesty has arrived. All of you, clear the way. You little dummy, protect me. Take a few hits from the tower for me. Charge. A soft but slightly dazed voice replied, I'm out of health. Hey, where are you going? Just take one more hit for me and I can get a pentakill. I'll die. It's just a game. Don't be such a coward. What are you so afraid of? Nora heard her daughter's cheerful voice before she even entered the living room, assuming she was just playing on her phone. Hearing the door open, the little girl looked up. Mommy, you're finally back! I was so bored, I missed you so much! Nora sighed silently. Cherry played games all day because she was either busy or sleeping, with no time to play with her. Get ready, I'm taking you out for dinner tonight. Lisa, the nanny, came over. What should she wear tonight, miss? Cherry thought for a moment. The little Louis Vuitton suit. Nora frowned. A boy's suit again? In the room next door, Pete Hunt stared at his phone. When he heard the conversation from the other side, he knew with certainty. It's her. She's back. As soon as their parents had left, he had immediately called the room next door. Hello, I'm your neighbor. May I come over? The little girl on the other end was surprised. Oh, so you're the little dummy from next door? It was the first time Pete, a young financial prodigy, had ever been called a dummy. Before he could argue, her voice turned cheerful again. Can you play video games with me? Pete was silent for a moment before softly replying, Okay. Pete Hunt stared at his phone screen. The game account Sweet Treat was now offline, and the voice call had ended. Just then, a well-defined hand reached over. My little prince, you're finally done! Joel Hunt said with a sigh of relief, taking the phone from him. My brother, the tyrant, is about to come back. We need to clean this up, quick. Pete didn't answer, simply turning and walking toward the closet. Hey, don't give me the cold shoulder, Joel called after him frantically. If you want to play again, your uncle will play with you next time. I'm in the top 10 on the national server, and the #1 player, Sweet Treat, is my sworn boss. I'll get her to carry you next time. We'll crush the enemy so bad they'll be crying for their mommies. Pete ignored him completely, saying only, Uncle, I'm going to the buffet. Get me my gray suit. Joel obediently took the suit from the closet and handed it to him. Hearing his nephew's muffled, thank you, he belatedly slapped his thigh and wailed, My dear nephew, please, just listen to me for once. If my brother finds out, he'll skin me alive. Justin was out today, which was the only reason Joel had dared to let the kid play games all afternoon. But going out for a buffet? That was like tap dancing on a minefield with Justin. He won't catch us if we're careful, Pete said lightly. Joel froze. By the time he snapped out of it, Pete was already dressed. If he comes back, call my watch. Watching his nephew leave, Joel felt a chill run down his spine, sensing a storm brewing. My little prince, what am I going to do without you? His words were still echoing in the room when the elevator dinged. As the doors opened, Justin Hunt's ice-cold face came into view. Joel nearly bit his tongue off. Bro. Justin paused while taking off his jacket. What are you doing blocking the door? His dark eyes scanned the room, and his expression immediately soured. Question. Where is Pete? At those words, Joel's knees went weak. He confessed, He's at the buffet downstairs. The tyrant immediately spun around and left. At the first hotel's buffet, Nora was getting some food, when a small, chubby hand tugged on her dress. She turned to see her daughter's wide, round eyes. The usually quiet child now had an unprecedented look of joy in his eyes. Seeing him stay silent, Nora knelt and stroked his head. Honey, couldn't you find what you wanted to eat? The word honey made Pete's cheeks flush. His grandparents called him that sometimes, but hearing it from this woman, in her lazy, carefree voice, felt incredibly warm. His eyes suddenly reddened, and with a hint of grievance, he asked softly, Are you my mommy? Nora was taken aback. Cherry was acting strange. Was it because she had forced him to quit his game earlier? She quickly pulled him into a hug. Okay, it's all Mommy's fault. There, what do you want to eat? Mommy will get it for you. Pete's eyes widened. 1,000 questions filled his mind. Mommy, why did you leave me? Where have you been all these years? But in the end, he said nothing. Nora didn't notice his complex emotions. She just nuzzled his forehead. Mommy got lots of yummy food. Let's go back to our table, okay? She said, carrying him toward a corner table. Pete buried his face in her neck, clinging tightly to her, as if he were holding on to a long-lost treasure. Meanwhile, Cherry was wandering through the dessert section. She looked at the mousse cake, then at the Black Forest cake. After a moment of hesitation, she loaded her plate with both and trotted off to find her mommy. But as she turned around, a handsome man with an imposing presence blocked her path. The next second, her plate was snatched away. "Junk food," the man said. "You're not allowed to eat this." Cherry froze. Before she could react, Justin Hunt scooped her up in one arm and started walking toward the exit. Cherry began to struggle violently. "Who are you? What gives you the right to tell me what to do? Let me go. Somebody's kidnapping a kid here." Justin's face was grim. His sense of public decency made him suppress his anger, but he hissed through his teeth, "Because I'm your father." Cherry's struggling stopped instantly. A moment later, she reached out and touched his face. Flicker of surprise crossed Justin's face. His arm loosened instinctively, and he looked down to see her little face streaked with tears. "Daddy, you're my daddy." She finally had a dad. She wasn't a kid who just popped out of a rock anymore. Cherry sniffled, her small hand rubbing his cheek as if to make sure he was real. "Daddy." Justin's throat felt tight. He didn't know what to say. It was the same little face that was always set in a stubborn pout, but now it was soft and tear-stained. The man who never lost his composure in boardrooms or negotiations was now completely flustered by a few hot tears. "Don't cry," he said, his voice hoarse. He was about to wipe a tear from her cheek when his hand was grabbed by two soft little ones. "Daddy!" Her sweet voice reached his ears, stopping the boys don't cry lecture he was about to give. Justin looked down at the little hand clutching his finger. He suddenly remembered she was only 5. No matter how mature she acted, she was still just a child. His heart, usually as hard as steel, softened just a little. Still, he tried to sound stern. "Crying and making a scene just for some food. You're pathetic." But Cherry just squeezed his finger tighter, as if afraid her newly found dad would fly away. She nodded her head like a little bird pecking at seeds. "Daddy, can we eat together?" Justin checked the time and said he only had an hour. His brother Joel, who was standing nearby, was dumbfounded. He knew that Pete would rather starve or be punished than ever back down. What was going on today? "Daddy, put me down. I haven't eaten the cake I picked out," Cherry said, excitedly patting his arm. Joel watched in disbelief as Justin actually bent down and set her on the floor. He watched as the little girl took his hand and ran toward the dessert section, and he couldn't help but rub his eyes. My brother and Pete, acting like a normal father and child? This is impossible. Cherry pointed at the desserts on her plate. "Daddy, eat this one, it's expensive." Then she stood on her tiptoes to whisper, "And don't drink juice at a buffet, it fills you up and isn't worth the price." Joel sidled up to them, his voice low. "Bro, do you think Pete's been possessed?" Justin shot him a cold look. "We still haven't settled the score for today. Go back to your room and think about what you've done." Joel nodded quickly. "Right. I'm gone," he said, but muttered under his breath, "Tyrant. Dictator. I'm so done for." After they had chosen their food, Cherry pointed to a corner table. "Daddy, Mommy's over there." Justin followed her gaze. In the corner, a woman was resting her chin on her hand, leisurely eating with a fork. There was an indescribable elegance in her movements. He looked away. "She's not your mommy." Cherry's temper flared. She puffed out her little chest. "Yes, she is. She's my mommy." Justin's face was stern. "Pete, remember this. Never trust a woman, especially a pretty one." Cherry's eyes went wide. What does he mean? Not recognizing mommy is a huge deal. If you don't recognize my mommy, then you're not my daddy. What kind of spell had that woman cast on his son to make him say such things? Justin's anger rose. A thought occurred to him, and he asked in a low voice, "Did you come downstairs with that woman?" "Of course," Cherry said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Of course she came with her mommy." Justin scoffed. "Just as I thought." He couldn't figure out why Pete would suddenly want to go to a buffet. This woman was flirting with another man downstairs just this afternoon, and now she was trying to use his son to get his attention. It seemed his verbal warning last night wasn't enough. "You are not to speak to her again," he ordered coldly. Cherry looked utterly confused. She glanced at her mommy in the corner, then up at her tall father. Finally, with a heavy heart, she followed Justin. Her mind was already racing with a plan. A daddy this handsome is too good to pass up. I have to help mommy snag him. She looked up at him and asked, "Daddy, isn't my mommy pretty? She's way prettier than all those celebrities. If you marry her, you'll look so good whenever you go out." Justin stopped in his tracks. What on earth has that woman been telling my son? Meanwhile, Nora noticed that her daughter Cherry was being unusually well-behaved tonight. The usually picky eater had eaten all her carrots without complaint, though she was eating very slowly. Are you sure you're not eating too much? Nora asked, concerned. Pete looked up at her words. He had already dragged this out for over an hour. He knew he'd probably be grounded by the tyrant when he got back, but he just couldn't bear to leave his mommy. The little boy slid off his chair. I'm going to get one more piece of cake. Just one more, Nora reminded him before letting out a huge yawn. She leaned back in her chair, a wave of sleepiness washing over her, completely oblivious to the fact that the daughter in front of her was actually Pete in disguise. Just then, Cherry slipped back over while pretending to get more food. Seeing how tired her mom looked, she felt a pang of sympathy. Her mom had already missed her nap to have dinner with her, and she had spent all that time with her dad, ignoring her. That wasn't right. She walked over and sighed. Mommy, are you sleepy? We should go back now. Nora, thinking her child was finally full, mumbled an agreement and took her hand, heading straight out of the restaurant. But when Pete returned with his cake, the gentle figure at the table was gone. The light in his eyes dimmed, and his shoulders slumped in disappointment. Time's up, a low voice said from behind him. Pete jumped, thinking, I'm done for. He's going to lecture me. But to his surprise, Justin Hunt picked him up and asked softly, Are you full? Pete looked bewildered. Did the tyrant have a change of heart? Back in the top-floor suite, Nora was about to fall into bed when the doorbell rang. Who is it? She called out impatiently. A stranger's voice answered, Miss Smith, my name is Hunt. Nora turned and shouted toward the living room, Cherry, get the door! Hey, I'm in the middle of a huge team fight, Cherry yelled back from the sofa without looking up. She then barked at her teammates. Focus on the back line. Timmy, how many times have you died? You're feeding them more than a delivery guy. Nora sighed and got up to open the door herself. But the person standing there wasn't Justin Hunt. It was a young man leaning against the wall, playing a game on his phone. When the door opened, the man quickly spoke into his phone. Boss, I'm dead anyway. This round is all up to you. He then ended the voice chat and looked Nora up and down. The woman's skin was incredibly fair. Her normally gentle, almond-shaped eyes were half closed, and her expressionless face was etched with fatigue. Can I help you? Joel Hunt scoffed internally. No wonder she has the guts to go after my brother. She's definitely got the looks for it. He cleared his throat. Miss Smith, I was hoping we could discuss something. Would you be willing to move to a suite on a lower floor and give up this presidential suite? Nora raised an eyebrow. Why? Joel held out a credit card. Just a friendly reminder. This hotel is owned by the Hunts. Technically, if the hotel cancels your reservation without cause, we have to pay you double. There's $100,000 on this card. Nora stared at the card, her mouth twitching slightly. Do I look like I need money? She wondered. Why does everyone try to buy me off? Seeing that she wasn't taking the card, Joel's tone hardened. If you don't agree, I'll have to ask security to escort you out. I'm sure you don't want to make a scene, Miss Smith. At his threat, Nora's eyes turned cold. But Joel didn't back down. Miss Smith, you've tried to seduce my brother time and time again. I'm only doing this because I see you have a child to take care of. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as just moving you to a different room. Nora yawned and asked lazily, I'm curious. How exactly did I seduce him? Joel was indignant. You spent a fortune to stay in the room next to his. It's obvious you're trying to get close to him. Pete may have fallen for your act, but I'm not that stupid. I've had you investigated. A woman who was dumped and had a child out of wedlock. What right do you have to pursue my brother? Nora just clicked her tongue. So it's a crime to live next door? Is this room not supposed to have anyone in it? The sudden force of her presence was so intimidating that Joel involuntarily took a step back before regaining his composure. Of course not. My brother found out that the famous surgeon, Auntie, is staying in this hotel and he's about to find her. Only a guest of that caliber deserves to stay next to my brother. Nora's heart sank. He found me? She wasn't afraid of Justin Hunt, but being pursued by a man like him would be a huge headache. Nora lowered her gaze, thought for a moment, then plucked the credit card from Joel's hand. Thank you. You can have someone come help us move. He was right. Being this close is too much trouble. Seeing her take the card and agree so readily, Joel's tense nerves finally relaxed. Good. You know what's best for you, he sneered. In his mind, while the suite downstairs was also a presidential one, its keycard wouldn't grant access to the top VIP floor. Once she moved, this woman would never have a chance to get near his brother or Pete again. He just couldn't shake the feeling that her thank you sounded a little odd. Inside the suite, Justin Hunt was sitting at a large desk, his hands flying across the keyboard. The screen was filled with streams of code and data lines. A single red dot, his target for the last half hour, was moving slowly. Just as he was about to close in, the dot flickered a few times and vanished. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Oblivious to his brother's dark mood, Joel said cheerfully, "Bro, did you lose her?" Justin took off his glasses. "I'm not blind," he said, his voice laced with ice. Joel shrank back and shut his mouth. A moment later, he sidled up to him, eager to show off. "By the way, bro, I just did something great. This will definitely make up for earlier." When Justin gave him a questioning look, he quickly explained, "I convinced the woman next door to move downstairs. She won't be able to bother you or Pete anymore." At his words, an image of the woman from the buffet flashed in Justin's mind, languid yet distant, her eyes clear but seemingly holding a universe of stars. "You shouldn't have done that," he muttered. Joel was confused. Why did that sound almost dissatisfied? The assistant, Lawrence, glanced at Joel and sighed internally. The Hunt family is so complex, filled with brilliant and calculating people. How did they end up with such a simple-minded sweetheart? It was a shame. They had been so close to pinpointing Auntie's location, but they had failed at the last second. Could there be a mole feeding her information? That seemed unlikely. Only the three of them knew about the search. Was it just a coincidence? Half an hour later, Nora was already settled in her new suite. After successfully blocking the external trace, she called Solo. As soon as he picked up, Solo's voice was full of apology. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt hired some top-level hacker who managed to get your info from my system, but for now, they only know you're at the first hotel, not your exact location," Nora said, her voice calm. "Be more careful next time." After hanging up, she tossed her phone aside. A wave of exhaustion washed over her, and she fell asleep almost instantly. 2 minutes later, a door creaked open and Cherry's small head peeked out. Seeing that her mom was sound asleep, she tiptoed out, closed the door softly, and logged into her game. A message from Timmy immediately popped up on the screen. "Boss, you're finally back. Where'd you go?" Cherry pouted and typed back, "The big dummy next door forced us to change rooms. Which idiot dared to bully my boss? I hope he chokes on water." Timmy cursed, not thinking much of it. It wasn't unusual to run into weird neighbors at a hotel. "By the way, boss, you were always abroad before. Didn't you say you got back to NYC yesterday? I came all the way here to find you. Where are you staying? The top floor suite next to mine just opened up. My treat." The next day at 1 p.m., in the presidential suite of the first hotel, Joel Hunt was furiously tapping his phone screen. Suddenly, a notification sound from the game announced his character's death. "You have been slain." "Fudge, Timmy! The river monsters are more agile than you," clear voice complained through his headset. This was followed by a series of kill announcements. "Triple kill, quadra kill." Joel was both embarrassed and excited. "You're amazing, boss. Thanks for avenging me. By the way, you never told me where you're staying." "I'm at the first hotel." Joel jumped up from the sofa in surprise. "I'm at the first hotel too. I'm coming to find you right now." "Not during the day." The voice on the other end suddenly changed. My mommy's awake. I have to go." "Wait, Timmy, don't go." Joel didn't even get to finish his sentence before the call was cut. In his excitement, he tripped and fell onto the carpet, wailing at his dark phone screen. "Boss, at least tell me which room you're in." Downstairs, in another presidential suite, Cherry peeked her head out of her room. "Mommy, you're awake?" she chirped sweetly. Nora yawned, her voice husky with sleep. "Morning, sweetie." "It's not morning, Mommy. It's already 1 in the afternoon," Cherry said, running over to plant a kiss on her cheek. "I love you extra today. Mommy loves you too," Nora replied with a smile. "Have you had lunch? Are you hungry, Mommy? I'll ask Lisa to get you something." "Thanks, sweetie, but it's okay. I already ordered delivery," Nora said just as her phone pinged. She ruffled her daughter's hair. "Go play for a bit, but don't spend too much time on your phone. It's bad for your eyes." Cherry stuck out her tongue and made a face. "I know, Mommy," she said, then skipped back to her room. Nora unlocked her phone and saw a message from an unknown number. "Angela, please forgive my forwardness. I got your number from the front desk. I would like to invite you for a drink at the downstairs bar tonight at 8. She frowned and with a swipe of her finger deleted the message. Meanwhile, in the first floor bar, Ian Garcia stared at the message-sent confirmation, then looked around at the scene he had meticulously arranged. He wasn't sure what he'd done to offend the beautiful woman last time, but he was certain she would fall for him tonight. He gestured to a nearby waiter. "You remember what to do? Tonight, just follow my lead." Yes, Mr. Garcia. Ian smiled smugly to himself. I should invite more people. I want the whole city to know that Ian Garcia is making a grand confession to the woman he loves. Outside the hotel, Angela Smith stood with a complicated expression, looking toward the bar. She had called Ian several times over the past few days, but he always sounded distracted, only ever asking about Harmonia Pharmacy. Her intuition told her something was wrong, so she had followed him here this morning. Just as she was wondering why he was here, a message popped up on her phone from Ian. Tonight at 8, the bar at the First Hotel. A secret surprise. I'd like you to be there. Angela's heart skipped a beat. She was about to reply when she heard a waiter's voice from inside the bar. Don't worry, Mr. Garcia. Everything is set up perfectly. Ian's voice was full of laughter. Do a good job, and you'll be well rewarded. He glanced at the message sent confirmation again, not noticing that the screen actually said sent to all contacts. After he left, a few waiters started whispering. Mr. Garcia is really going all out. He must be proposing to his fiancée, right? She's so lucky to be his fiancée. Angela's cheeks flushed as she listened, a warm feeling spreading through her chest. How could she have ever doubted him? It was so wrong of her. If she hadn't secretly followed him, she would never have known he was preparing such a huge surprise. She turned to leave, her mood lightened, but ran right into a woman in pajamas and slippers. The woman was looking down, her soft hair framing her fair skin and exquisite features. Even in such casual attire, her cool, detached aura was impossible to ignore. It was Nora, who had just come downstairs to pick up her food delivery. Angela's fingers tightened, an uncontrollable wave of jealousy washing over her. How could Nora afford to stay at the First Hotel? She must be living beyond her means, putting on a show. She quickened her pace to confront her. Nora, are you so poor you don't even have proper clothes to wear, yet you're staying in a place like this? Are you planning to seduce some rich man here? Nora was holding her takeout with one hand and deleting a spam text with the other. Ian's annoying messages had just been moved to the trash. She paid Angela no mind. Being ignored, Angela's anger flared. She pointed at Nora. Take a good look at yourself. Do you really think you can get by on just a pretty face? Only then did Nora offer a cool, "Oh, at least I have one." The remark sent Angela's temper skyrocketing. Was Nora calling her shameless? Or implying she wasn't pretty? Or both? She took a deep breath, a sly smile spreading across her face. Want to know where that child you abandoned is? See you at the bar, 8 o'clock tonight. In her eyes, so what if Nora was beautiful? She was still the one Ian had thrown away. She was going to make Nora watch as Ian proposed to her. With that, Angela spun on her heel and walked away. Nora watched her go, her eyes hardening slightly. 8 o'clock, at the bar, again. She still hadn't found any clues about her son. She couldn't afford to miss any opportunity. Fine. She would see what kind of show her dear sister and ex-fiancé had prepared for her. The first-floor bar was already buzzing with people. Angela, in a long red evening gown, was surrounded by a gaggle of her fair-weather friends. Angela, the First Hotel isn't cheap. Mr. Garcia must be planning something big, right? Is he going to propose? It has to be a proposal. I heard your sister is back, but the marriage contract has been torn up, so they're officially done. As they were talking, someone suddenly gasped. Hey, what is she doing here? Following their gaze, Angela looked toward the entrance. Nora was still dressed casually, her face devoid of expression, exuding a detached, world-weary vibe. But her face was so strikingly beautiful that she captured everyone's attention the moment she walked in. As soon as she entered, a few waiters began whispering. One of them hurried to the back. Go tell Mr. Garcia she's here, he can get ready. The loud music in the bar was giving Nora a headache, and an unbearable irritation welled up inside her. Her cool gaze found Angela, and she started walking toward her. Before she could even get close, she heard Angela's fake, syrupy voice. Sister, why are you here? Ian won't see you. Her sycophantic friends immediately chimed in. Nora, did you find out Mr. Garcia was going to propose and come here to ruin it? It was your fault for being shameless and getting pregnant with another man's child. That's why Mr. Garcia left you. And now you're still harassing him? Have you no shame? Nora ignored their words, her eyes fixed on Angela. Tell me, where is the child? Angela leaned in close, a mocking smile on her face. In a voice only the two of them could hear, she pointed to a nearby sofa. You just sit there quietly and watch tonight's spectacular show. After you congratulate Ian and me, then I'll tell you.